One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just so many hours you spent on the phone, I wasted here loving you. Now you gonna tell me that you're on your own, you're leaving me sad and blue. Just so many days you've been on my mind, you been stop trouble on down the line. Cool if I go, cool if I stay, tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Let it roll, let it glide, let it fall. Off the side.
Howdy. This our fall edition, episode 35. Little cool in the air, Mr. Producer.
It is. It's very nice.
Oh man.
Welcome. Much welcome.
Oh man. It has been awesome. Episode 35. We welcome you to the Clay and Woodrow Show. I am joined, like always, by our producer. I might call you Coach today because we're gonna be pretty sports heavy. Now, let me say right off the bat for our lose, not talking about, but the controversy of some of the controversies of sports. Like, so we're even going to get to the Ware County, Pierce County football game. Is that going to be played? Is that not going to be played?
Yeah.
Nothing that you like better than talking about some sports, Mr. Producer. So
I love it.
Just hang in over there. So we got Woodrow is here this morning as well. Mr. Producer, Coach Cornelius, can I tell you something? One of the three of us smells, okay? Either me, you, or the black lab kind of has an odor that has just caught me that we've closed the doors to the Timmy Tooper Studios.
Yeah.
It's a little bit gamey, okay?
Yeah.
I know it's not me because I took a nice shower this morning, a little deodorant this morning. So it's between you and Woodrow, but one of you is about to run us out of this room. I'm guessing it's Woodrow.
That's what I'm going to guess.
Okay, all right. And your wife will hope that it is Woodrow. Episode 35, episode Rennie Kern today of, I want to do our whoop whoop right here. Sponsor. Our sponsor is Thomas Drawdy's Mobile Detail. Drawdy Mobile Detail. And Mr. Producer, can you tell, they can read it, but just so we sound somewhat efficient and we know what we're talking about, can you tell them the phone number to reach Thomas?
That's 912-548-4643.
That's 4643. You're supposed to do it in that kind of way? Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
All right. So you can reach out to Thomas. That's a Pierce County product, a Pierce County graduate over there. He actually detailed my truck this week. It was so clean. I just went and ate a full course meal off the back of it. Just threw down the tailgate, put my food right up there and started eating.
Oh, yeah.
He's out there. He's like cleaning it with Q-tips. I'm just kidding. Listen, Thomas has a full menu. You can call him and talk to about it. You can get a basic detail, a full detail, all kind of stuff that I wasn't even aware that you could do to a vehicle.
Wow.
But he did a really good job. And so he's a friend of the show. And so we want to make sure that you reach out. But make sure that you tell them that Clay and Woodrow sent you over. So we will jump right into things. And what's been kind of hot on Facebook, it's died down a little bit, is I think it's good conversation, which is rare on Facebook.
Yeah.
That you'd have
Absolutely.
reasonable people. Now, let me say this. For the most part, reasonable people having a discussion. And the discussion's been about just why doesn't Ware County and Pierce County play football? And I think there's a little bit of history there. And, we play them in other sports, at least some other sports we play them. Some sports, I believe, and I'm not an expert in these areas, but I think we offer some sports at Ware County that possibly may not be offered at Pierce County. I don't know that they have volleyball. They might have swim. I'll be honest, I don't know.
They have a swimmer.
They have a swimmer.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's good. I think we have rifle team. They may not have that. I think they might have like a shotgun team, and we don't have. I don't know, but it may not be apples to apples. Is all I mean by all the Karens that say, "Well, he forgot to mention that this isn't about." Here, this is the summary. I'm gonna start with the summary.
Right.
I'm the one guy out of both communities that pulls for both of the schools, which seems to be like a incredibly wrong thing to do around here. But I get in trouble for that. So my kids have been in the Pierce County school system, which, you know what our summary was? We loved it.
Yeah.
You know what? My kids have been in the Ware County school system. You know what the summary was? We love it. Both schools have strengths and weaknesses, like every school program on God's green earth. But we thought Pierce County was phenomenal. We think Ware County is phenomenal. But if you have that opinion, they would like to kick you off of the island. So like at Ware County football games, if I don't go to many as much as I used to, but if they say a Pierce County score and Pierce County is winning, I was like, I'll clap or something like that, and people look around like, man, have you got the plague? What are you doing? Now, Pierce County fans, don't think you're any different. You're just as bad. We have communities that truly do now pull against one another. Yeah. I think the argument would be made, Clay, that doesn't mean that we hate them. That's just what a rivalry is. Lowndes County doesn't pull for Valdosta, and Valdosta doesn't pull for Lowndes County. I can tell you this. If I lived in Lowndes County and had grown up in that community, I would pull for both schools. Mm-hmm. Because if we had like a timpani for a drum roll, I think we should do this drum roll because I'm about to say something that's going to be earth-shattering.
Uh-oh.
I pull for kids.
Man,
that's a crazy idea, but like I don't find myself pulling against 16-year-old kids. That's not within my. Now, when my son wrestles and he's wrestling against a Pierce County wrestler, do I want my son to win? Yes,
sure.
But I get no more gratitude out of him beating a Pierce County kid than him beating a Fitzgerald kid or him beating an Ola kid or him beating a Union Grove kid. It's just another kid. I just pull for my kid a little bit more than I pull for other kids. Because he's my kid.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is strange to me.
It's weird.
It is very strange to me as to why people can't do that. And I'm saying it is a rare human being. Now, in public, they would tell you that they pull for, but they do not.
Right.
They're lying through their teeth. And so that's a very sad thing. So we're going to go through some of the myths of the Pierce County, Ware County game. I'll start with the summary again as why is it difficult for that game to exist? Because of adults. That's easy. That's really what stops everything in life is because adults don't know how to behave. And if you look at the Facebook post, it started off very congenial. It was really people just, man, I'd love to see this. It's two good communities. We've had a rough 2020. Is there any way that this can happen? It started off fine, but it went down. Oh, it went downhill in a hurry because adults don't know how to be, adults. And so that's the problem of why the game isn't played. Now, I'm going to say some things that are going to be upsetting to people, but factual. Back in the Dudley era, and I don't really necessarily remember who was coach at Pierce County at the time. If I thought about it, it would take me 10 seconds. It's not important. I can tell you they weren't good football games. Now, that's going to hurt some people's feelings. Mm-hmm. But let me say this. They were not good football games. Let me say this, though, Mr. Producer, Coach Cornelius. That's not unusual for high school football. If you listen to the Tommy Palmer score show after the games, which, of course, Mr. Tommy just passed away a couple of weeks ago, so we wish the best for his family. But he would do the wrap-up show where he would do all the state. Lopsided high school football games are very that's very usual. That's not an unusual thing at all. And so, but they weren't competitive. You can go by the scoreboard. You can pull up the film. You can look at the fact that during the Dudley era, which I was most involved with Ware County athletics or Ware County sports, was when Coach Dudley was there. I've not been since he left. The games were not competitive, and to some degree, if you get your tail kicked, it's one thing to get your tail kicked. It's another thing to get your tail kicked by your neighboring county. It's like your big brother beating up on yours. It just hurts a little bit more. It stings a little bit more. But I don't think that's why we stopped playing, because we have been playing Pierce County. Waycross, when I was at Waycross, played Pierce County. Well, we had to because we were in the same. Those games weren't competitive. The argument's being made that Pierce County program is much improved. That is a very fair statement to make. That program they're better now than when Pender was there. Pender kind of got it turned around. Strickland definitely got it, increased upon that. And now, I would say, I don't even know how this happened. I think I know how this happened. Pierce County has one of the best high school football coaches, not in Georgia, but in the Southeast United States. He's won at a major level in Alabama at a higher classification. I think much like myself, Coach Herring outpunted his coverage when he married. Mm-hmm. And his wife is from Pierce County, and I think that's why he's back. So that's phenomenal for our community. But this guy, Coach Herring, is known throughout the Southeast United States, and because he's a smart man and wants his wife to be happy. And I don't know all of the particulars.
Right.
I know Coach Herring just a little bit. I know him to be a phenomenal, very kind guy to me. But his wife does have roots back in Pierce County, and Pierce County, I don't want to say they got lucky, but a 3A football program to have that level of a coach is unheard of. And so that's kind of a neat thing. Their program has just, because of the program and the community and the kids, that program has definitely, improved. And I think it could be more competitive. And obviously you just don't know until it goes out on the field.
Right.
As to, how that kind of thing's going to go. The fact of the matter is, could fans behave themselves? One of those teams is going to lose. So let's go through some of the myths. One of the myths is that, one school just has better athletics than the other. You got to be careful there. Mm-hmm. One school historically has had a better football program, but athletics from top to bottom, I don't want to get myself in too much trouble.
Right.
But Pierce County's athletics from top to bottom, when you start talking about soccer, tennis, golf, cross country, from top to bottom, Pierce County does just fine. But, of course, as either community, all we think about is football. And so then
Correct.
we think that there might be some disparity in the athletic. There's not disparity in athletics. Pierce County's athletics is just fine. Mm-hmm. And so is Ware County's. But you could make the argument that from top to bottom, Pierce County has a more successful athletic program from top to bottom. I would just kind of say they're equal. They're both really, really good. So that's kind of one of the myths. The other thing is that people in Ware County think that they're afraid to play. They're not. Nobody thinks they're afraid to play. What are 17-year-old kids afraid of?
Not a whole lot.
Nothing. So they're not afraid to play. The question that we're trying to articulate and doing is not, are they scared or are they afraid, is the timing of the game right before they go into their region's schedule. Does it make sense? But there's a lot of logistical kind of stuff. No one's afraid. That's a crazy speculation. Does no one think that the other team's afraid? I will say, I think after the Dudley years, it was, do we think we can be competitive? No, they weren't scared or like, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to get your tails kicked. That's what happened during the Dudley years. I don't think people think that would happen now because Pierce County's program has improved drastically. Mm-hmm. No one's afraid. No one thinks that other teams. 17-year-olds will take a four-wheeler and drive off of a bluff into the river. They're certainly not afraid to go play a football game.
Right.
So that's not at play at all either. There's another myth that says, well, it's unfair because Ware County is such a bigger school. That's wrong. Just look at the numbers. There's 511 students different. Although all students are welcome to play football, for the most part, only males play football. Now, you can't say that in today's world. So as far as males go, Ware County has about 250 more males, and out of that, maybe 10% of your male population plays football. And so you're talking about Ware County has the availability to really work with about 250 more males than Pierce County does as far as recruiting a program. I saw somebody write, says, well, they should split their school in half, and then they would be 3A. We wouldn't be. We'd be 2A. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
No.
If we split our school in half and you look at Georgia high school associations and their number brackets, we would be in 2A. We wouldn't be in 3A. And so there's not a big difference in size. And then the other thing that doesn't make sense, because I think I've been fair in the whole thing, is that you might say, well, why would we play a 5A school? Well, I don't know, but you play them all the time. You just played a 6A school. You just beat the brakes off of Brunswick. It wasn't even a competitive game. You went back to old Pender's now coaching over at Brunswick. They're old and beat the brakes off of them. So it's not, well, we shouldn't be playing 6A and 5A competition. They play Richmond Hill. They play Wayne County, all 5 and 6A competitors. So it is different, though, when you play your next-door neighbor. And I certainly get that. Pierce County is not scared. Pierce County has a great football program. AAA is very different than 5A. Not very different. It's different than 5A. And so all of these kind of things are going. But I'm just a fan of both. I would love to see it happen. The reason why I don't think it's going to happen in 2021 is not because anybody's scared of the quality of the programs or anything like that. It's just logistically, it's tough to just make a football game appear. Even in a COVID year, it's tough just to logistically say, well, we've got an open date here. Do y'all have an open date? Well, we do have an open date, but we'd kind of already talked to this school, and we think we're going to have a game with them. And they're like, well, if that's the case, we've talked to this school and all this kind. So I think the better thing to do is just. In 2020, the better thing to do is just try to schedule a game for 2021 and just say this is when we're going to play it. Play it early in the year so it doesn't affect preparations for region. Get your big ticket draw, because at the end of the day, that's what the administrators and athletic directors are after, is the money to run their programs. And I'm not picking on them. That's a reality that they have to deal with. And so I think that is what's going on. But I'm this weird dude. I go to Pierce County games, pull for Pierce County. I go to Ware County game. I'm a Brookwood fan. See, that's a 7A school in Atlanta. I'm a big fan of Brookwood I kind of like kids. And so I don't pull against the program, and I'm just the oddball in that.
Well, so if you had to pick, though, who's going to win in that potential 2021?
You're not going to do that. Well, let's see. If it's 2021, I will say that I do not know, because I don't even know who will be on those teams. I don't know how if Ryan leaves, or if Jason Strickland leaves, and let me make something else clear. I did see someone say the comment about, like, well, why does Coach Strickland want this game? Now, to my knowledge, Coach Strickland's never asked for this game. I've never heard him speak for. So it's unfair to say that. I don't know Coach Strickland. I know him. We've shook hands pre-COVID. We shook hands, and we've had pleasantries. How are you doing today? And I hope you're doing great. And I wish you well. If you need something, call me. That kind of thing. But I don't know him. But to be fair to that guy, you can't put this on him. I don't know that he's pounding the drum to play Pierce County. So that was a statement that I'm not saying it was careless or anything like that. It was just wasn't thought through of saying, why does he want this all this? Don't know that he does, to be fair to him. He's never, to my knowledge, even spoken about it since coming to the Ware County campus. Now, I will say, I'm trying to avoid your question. Do you feel that? If they played this year, if they do play this year, I will tell you who I think will win. I'll give you a score.
Who's that? Probably not.
Well, if they do play, I will give you the score, and I'll be within 7 points of it.
What's that?
I can't tell you. It's called a cliffhanger in media world. I can't tell you. But to that end, I think they should try to play in 2021. I am a weird guy. If they don't play, I'd like to see them play, but I don't care strongly one way, because I'm a pull for those teams, whoever they're pulling for that weekend. And in the privacy of people's homes right now, they're saying there's no way I'd ever pull for the other team, and I just think that is. We go to church together, folks. We got to pull for one another's.
Yeah, but church, come on. Church doesn't compete with football.
Oh, well, that is true. Football's much more important than church in this community, and I don't mean that jokingly. I think if you would – I do think football's more important than church, unfortunately. But that's just a crazy, sentiment to me. And but, I've seen it on both sides, and it's equal. None's worse than the other. I've had conversations this week with a person who's just like, well – this is probably not even fair to say, but my dislike of Pierce County. And I was just like, no, for the record, I did not know you. I was like, you're talking about the school system? They're like, yes, and this person was in education. And I was just like, no, why would you dislike another school system? And then I have been over at Pierce County before. I coached at Pierce County. Let me say this before people say, I think I got some water bottles prepared. I had to do a lot of work putting plays in order for Coach Burdett. I think I kind of screwed those up for the most part as well when I did that kind of work for him. I would on Sundays sometimes provide the defense's coach's team meal. So when I say I coached for them, I was very involved with their team and was a community coach, and those guys were kind enough to let me play on their sideline or whatever. Yeah. I helped the JV squad a little bit as well. Here's the other thing is I think those are phenomenal guys at Pierce County that coach. At Ware County, I think they're phenomenal guys that coach at Ware County. What I was going to say is the year that Coach Strickland left Pierce County to come to Ware County, you probably need a couple of years to let that kind of cool off a little bit. Pierce County, I'm not saying they've done anything wrong. Coach Strickland, I'm not saying he did. I don't know, don't have an opinion, but that's just the nature of human beings. You probably need a cooling off, period. But at some point in time, you know what they need more than that cooling off period? A little revenue. Yeah. A little revenue. So that game will probably start back, if nothing else, because of revenue. So That's a little bit longer than we would normally spend on sports, but it was kind of just speaking.
Well, it's kind of community interest. Let's call it a community interest piece.
In that same vein, this actually is a transition that will work. And now that I've said that, I've screwed up the ability to have a transition that'll work.
We get so excited.
Yeah, I know. We rarely have a good transition. So, All Good Music Company, are you familiar with them?
No.
Okay. In my college days, that was kind of the local Athens, but had some Waycross connection band that, like, when I listened to their album, I think it's called Ride the Bee. It's kind of what makes me think of college. All Good Music Company, and their drummer and maybe a guitarist, if Brad Williams watches this, which I doubt he does. But we had some Waycross connection to two people in the band. Mm-hmm. Their lead singer was a guy named Corky Jones, who I kind of follow/stalk on Facebook, who does not know me, but I'm trying to engage that type so I can say, at a cocktail party, which I don't go to, right. The lead singer of All Good, he and I are kind of friends, which people, first of all, when I say, the lead singer of All Good, for the most part, outside of the small little circle of Georgia, everybody's going to be like, no, we don't know who you're talking. But anyhow, he was kind of the little local band celebrity, when I was at Mercer, sneaking up to Athens every weekend to go hang out and all that kind of stuff. Well, he had an anniversary mention of Ride the Bee, their famous album, the other day on Facebook, and I was following, and I just said, when I listen to this, it instantly makes me think of college. And I think he gave me a thumbs up or something like that, and my little man crush, just pitter patter. Oh yeah, Corky gave me some love or whatever. Sure. But then I noticed about maybe 20% of the comments on his page were people from Waycross. I was like, well, by George, Corky needs to be held accountable to the fact that his fan base, he may not know this, but apparently the core of it is in old Waycross, Georgia. Yeah. Now, some of those cats had kind of moved away, but home for them is Waycross, is Waycross, Georgia. And so I said, well, by George, if that's the case, you need to come to Waycross and do a concert. And he said that would be the bomb. So I'm just saying. Wow. If the Clay and Woodrow fans could gather enough, I don't know, Corky, we're going to try to get somebody that knows you, I know you don't know me, is to watch this. How many people would we have to gather to make it worthwhile? And I don't know what that number is. We get the Pine Box Dwellers to open up for them. Now, the Pine Box Dwellers might say, well, hold on just a second. We don't open up for anybody. Well, All Good can open up for us. I would love to be in the middle of that type of contractual type of battle where we got two separate green rooms, and Corky wants M&Ms in his green room, and the Pine Box Dwellers wants some old kind of nasty beer. Yeah. I don't know my beer products well enough. Natural. I went to college. Natural Light. Yeah. Natty Ice. Natty. Yeah. And Corky's, well, I want this, and the Pine Box Dwellers is like, well, I said I didn't want a couch. I wanted a futon, and I want that kind of battle. Yeah. And then they don't really get along, but then they come out and they play a song together at the end. And I can see this all.
It's gonna be a movie.
I guess the question is, Corky, how many people would it require for us to gather up in old Waycross, Georgia, that would make it worthwhile? I think he's in the New Orleans area. I'm sure he's willing to travel right over for a reunion to be played in Waycross. So, Corky, if you could answer that question and take us somewhat seriously, we would appreciate it. Trilogy, the song Trilogy, Bless My Soul, It's Time to Roll. That song, that doesn't ring a bell to you?
No, it doesn't. Sorry.
Well, just quite frankly, Corky's disappointed.
I could bet.
But look, you'd like it. It's not Pine Box Dwellers, but it's in the same kind of family, sort of. So so if we could get old Corky to respond to me in any way.
I got a cousin named Corky.
That's close enough.
That is not a That's not a common name.
That's not a common. That's not a common name.
It's a cool name.
And the last thing is, I was talking to some friends of mine yesterday. I kind of want to wrap it up with this. It's sports like related, but not really. I just don't ever want to lose Christy Miller. When I say sports, she says she checks out. I don't think Christy even watches the program anymore. She hadn't checked in a while, and that hurts my
comments.
Hurts my feelings. We had 1,000 listeners last episode 34. It's probably because Herschel Walker. But anyhow, I got talking about this with my buddies, and I said, you know what? The guy was telling me how hard he laughed when I talked about my mom putting me in husky jeans. Yeah. And not only did I already know that I was fat, but she wanted the whole world to know that I was fat because she put husky on me. Right. So we started talking about the trials of a fat kid in South Georgia. And there's one trial that's greater, and they kind of brought this to my attention, and I could vividly remember it, is I played peewee and midget football. You played peewee first, then midget football.
Right.
But they had weight requirements that you had to meet. And so before you played a football game, Cecil Brown, the legendary Cecil Brown, if we had a Tiffany, anytime you say Cecil Brown, the Tiffany should just start playing.
Yeah.
Cecil Brown was the man, but he would weigh you in. And you would go to the visitor's locker room, and he would weigh you in on a scale. And there is nothing that will give you some little body image issues than seeing your whole team go weigh in, fully dressed, shoulder pads, pants, with their helmet in their hand, and you being the last guy in line wearing nothing but your tighty-whitey underwear. And that's how I weighed in every single time. So, Corky, if you could write a song about me weighing in my tighty-whitey underwear, I would appreciate that. That seems to have like some folk appeal to it.
Oh, definitely.
A tubby little kid weighing in his. Now, also, my mom was not acutely aware enough that chubby little kids should not be wearing tighty-whities. I didn't know. But
Yeah,
I
sure.
wore tighty-whities up until I was old enough to say, why in the world am I wearing something that looks like Speedos on this 12-year-old little boy? So I switched to boxer shorts.
Yeah.
But my mom had us in the underoos, and so I wasn't even up there in boxers or boxer briefs or anything like that. My mama had me, we called them grippies, old-fashioned BVD grippies. Maybe we might have done Fruit of the Loom,
Yeah.
a BVD, something like that.
Yeah, what was it with moms
But-
forcing that on kids?
Oh, there's nothing worse. And so I'm standing up there with my helmet stuck to over here to the side on a bench, not a stitch of clothes, not socks on, weighing in and nothing but. Then I have to get dressed as quickly as I can
Sure.
to go get out on the field because I'm 0.8 ounces away from not being able to play peewee football because I was a fat little tubby little kid. And so that's another great memory of growing up. Cecil Brown would always try to slide his foot up onto the scale to make me go over and then I learned that he was just messing with me.
Yeah.
I think if I would have been a pound over, I think Cecil Brown saw how hard I worked. I mean, I was having to drop like 15 pounds as a young kid just to play football.
Man.
And I think Cecil Brown would have let me. I don't know that I was so much of a factor with my speed and agility in peewee and midget football that he thought that pound was going to be a real threat to anybody. I think he would have let me slid on the field, but I always did make weight.
Did you ever wear a trash bag on field?
I did the trash bag jogging on the field to drop.
It's wonder you're not dead.
Once again, great parenting out there. My mom's just like, well, yeah, he needs to cut a little weight. Put that Glad bag on him and let him run. So my mom was perfect. Other than we don't eat fruit. I had to weigh in BVDs. I did run in a trash bag in the middle of September after school.
Man.
Other than that, she was A-OK.
Yeah.
She's A-OK. What about you, Mr. Producer? We're about to wrap this thing up. I think I covered my Pierce County, Ware County ground fairly and without being offensive.
I thought so.
Okay. Fan of both programs. And trust me, 90% of the people in the community say that, but they don't mean. We have people that even advertise in the other community. Like, let's just say I'm just going to make up a store, like a John's Refrigerator Store, but it's a Ware County. They'll advertise over there, and they can't stand the football program, but they advertise over there to try to convince everybody that they support both communities. And same thing over there. I'll listen to the radio game. This game is sponsored by John's Refrigerator Company. I was like, that's funny because John's Refrigerator Company hopes that we lose this game. So that's just bizarre to me. I pull for both teams, and I truly do pull for both teams. I pull for Brookwood, too. Coach Philip Jones, he's the man. Nothing from you. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to get Woodrow a bath. I think that is at the top of the list, paramount to my existence in the next couple of days. And we just want to make sure that you have a phenomenal weekend. Enjoy this weather. And most of all, go Dogs. We didn't even talk about it, but go Dogs. Y'all have a great one.
On the side, let her go.